Thank you very much, Committee Secretary. Today, we called for this Moto Propio hearing on the Department of Education's program that will strengthen the senior high school program, which will be piloted this coming school year 2025-2026. So since we are in a recess, we decided to conduct a motu proprio hearing to focus on the department's plan to roll out a new senior high school curriculum called Strengthened Senior High School Program. And we want to be enlightened on the reforms that the Department of Education has embarked on insofar as senior high school curriculum is concerned. Before we go into that discussion, I'd like to show the body a few information, particularly surveys that we conducted. I've been tracking the satisfaction of our constituents to K to 12, and we've been tracking this for the last few years, and so that we will understand and appreciate also what is the view of our constituents what is the view of our constituents to the K to 12 program of the government. So in the latest survey that we conducted, this is only last March of this year, the number of satisfied is about 32%, and the number of dissatisfied is about 42%. So in other words, there are more dissatisfied constituents to the K to 12 program of the government. That's about a net dissatisfaction about 10%. And we also asked their views about the senior high school program of the government. So the senior high school program, that's the next slide. The senior high school program, about 33% are satisfied, about 40% are dissatisfied. So that's about a negative 7% dissatisfaction, net dissatisfaction rating. So in other words, our constituents are not satisfied with the K to 12. Our constituents are also not satisfied with the senior high school program in particular. And this is something that we should take note because what we want is our parents and our constituents to be happy with the K to 12 program. This is the nation's education program. This is the nation's basic education platform. And if our constituents are not happy with our basic education platform, particularly our parents, then they don't see any value to the nation's basic education program. This is something that we should learn and analyze very deeply. But of course, if you look at the 2025 numbers, seems like it's quite discouraging. But if you look at the trend over the years, we'll show you the trend over the years for K to 12. In 2019, wala namang problema. Everyone was happy about K to 12. 50% satisfied, 20%, 28% dissatisfied. But everything turned around after the pandemic. The dissatisfaction went up in 2022. Unfortunately, there was no survey during 2020 because it's a pandemic year. And we failed to also conduct in 2021 because everyone was still trying to grapple going back to normalcy. But everything, the satisfaction turned around and became dissatisfaction after the pandemic. And because of that, after the pandemic, the height of the dissatisfaction was in 2023, about 52%, and satisfied about 32%. The good news is it's going down. The gap between satisfaction and dissatisfaction is actually narrowing. So in other words, over the years, the reforms and programs that the department is implementing on the ground, people are seeing some benefits out of it. And that's why if you look at the dissatisfaction, which is the red one, and dissatisfaction is going down. The gap is narrowing. But the thing is, it's also going to the undecided or cannot say. So people are seeing some benefit, but they cannot say whether it's good or not. No? But the good thing is the dissatisfaction is going down. No? So in other words, we should continue the reforms that we are doing in order to eliminate dissatisfaction, and our constituents will see the beauty and the benefit of our basic education program in our country. The next slide is the senior high school. The same, over the years, the gap of dissatisfaction and satisfaction is also narrowing, but it's going down to the undecided, so meaning people are not very sure whether it's beneficial to them or not. But the good news there, the number of dissatisfied is going down. If we continue that trend, hopefully in the next few years, we will see more people happier and satisfied with our K-12 and senior high school program. My own personal analysis to this is because of the pandemic. The pandemic exposed a lot of weaknesses, both economically and also in our education system. I think during the pandemic, a lot of people were jobless, their income went down, their livelihoods disappear. So because of those economic factors, the senior high school in particular became a burden rather than an asset for them. No? Because wala ka ng trabaho, because you were laid off because of the pandemic, your factories, your restaurants were all shut down and you were not earning. And then you still have to pay for 2 years of schooling in senior high school, which our constituents do not see any return to them. No? Wala silang nakikitang benefit, wala silang nakikitang return para sa mga pamilya nila. That's why I think there was a big change during the pandemic. It exposed our economic weakness that also cascaded to our education system. No? So in other words, we have to demonstrate to our constituents that the senior high school has value to them. It's about value, because you're shelling out money in the form of baon, uniforms, projects, but what's the return to their family? The return should be in the form of college readiness, job readiness, maybe entrepreneurial skills. Those are the returns that our family should see, but they are not seeing it. No? But then again, it's not always a bad. It's not always bad news. Like I said, no, the gap of dissatisfaction and satisfaction is narrowing down. No, so let's continue the reforms that we are doing, and hopefully in the next few years we'll see a reversal. No? More people will be happy because they see great value in senior high school and K-12 to their own families. No? So I wanted to start off with that because we're talking about reforming the senior high school program of our country. And I know that the department is embarking on a massive reform in our curriculum, no? From grades 1 to 10 through the Mandatag curriculum, which is now being implemented. And now we are rolling out the reform or the strengthened senior high school curriculum, which will be piloted this coming school year. So hopefully these reforms that we are doing, itong mga reforms sa curriculum takes time. Eh. No? When you implement a curricular reform, it doesn't translate it overnight. No? It will translate maybe a few years from now. But then again, people will start noticing changes on the ground. No? So, but now that the department has decided to implement the strengthening of our senior high school program, we would like to understand fully the reforms that were undertaken in order to address the gaps and weaknesses in our current senior high school curriculum, and how this new senior high school curriculum will create value to our constituents. If you remember, there were so many promises during the debates of the K-12. I'll show some later on. No? We had to review the transcript of the K-12 debates, and we saw some promises there. And alam mo, mahilig tayo mangako, puro pangako tayo ng pangako, lahat napako na eh. No? So, but we need to keep